Hey, it's Pastor Dan from Dexter Gospel Church. Thanks for watching this Proverbs Practical. This proverb looks at the outcome when wisdom and foolishness meet in an argument. We're in Proverbs 29, verse 9. It says, "If a wise man contends with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest." So the wise and the foolish are shown in Proverbs to be on completely different courses. While the claims of wisdom and folly are eerily similar, both of them will claim that they're going to make you happy and give you long life and so on, there's a vast difference in how the wise and the foolish truly think, believe, speak, and act. Now, we know well enough at this point where they go when they head off in their different directions. Those who follow wisdom make good decisions. They end up happier, healthier, and longer lived. They tend to have the help and blessing of God. Those who choose the path of foolishness, of folly, they tend not to endure. They turn away from God's ways, and so they don't have His help. They may seem to enjoy temporary success, but it never really lasts. They end in tragedy and misfortune as they reap what they have sown. But what happens when those two courses, instead of diverging, clash, run into each other? What happens when a wise person and a fool meet over some issue or decision and their ideas are in conflict with one another? This happens all the time between coworkers, between politicians, between family members, and pretty much any time you get enough human beings in the same place at the same time working on the same thing. Their ideas and approaches will be so different that they cannot help but come into conflict. This says that if the wise man contends with the foolish man, there is no rest. And it doesn't matter what one of them does, the outcome ends up being the same. Now, the grammar of the verse could be taken two different ways. One is to say that whether the wise man rages or laughs, there's not going to be any rest. That is, whether he is stern or whether he tries to use humor. He can't persuade the fool. He's stubborn, he's stuck in his ways. The grammar also permits this to be speaking of the fool, though, that whether he rage or laugh, and that seems to be more consistent with how the two behave in Proverbs. Remember that in the previous verse, the wise are turning away wrath. They're not going to be the ones raging. It's also the fool who mocks and scorns and laughs at things that should be taken seriously. So if that's the case, if this is talking about the fool's response to the wise person's argument, then this is saying that it doesn't matter what the wise man says or how good his reason or his argument is. The fool is either just going to get angry with him or he'll laugh at him. He's going to rage, he'll mock, but he will not be persuaded. There can be no peace from his wrath and mockery. Now, it's a sad statement, but it's true, and it applies in every avenue of life, from disagreements on the job to disagreements in politics or science or whatever. There are those who would have a reasoned discussion, who would listen and speak, who would give evidence and reasons. And then there are those who will just get mad, who instead of engaging and refuting, will mock and scorn. When those two approaches meet, there's rarely ever any resolution. The difference between wisdom and folly is so great that there can usually be no integration of them into a single workable course of action. They can't really compromise and have half one and half the other and have something that works. One is going to want honesty, and the other will want deception. One will want personal benefit, the other will want what is best for others. One will want to do what's right, the other will want to do what's best for themselves. Often there can't be any compromise, only a choice between them. So this has a couple applications. One is simply a sad observation that when we deal with people who act like the fool of Proverbs, we can't always expect to win or persuade them. Sometimes instead of contending with them at all, we're better off just asking them a few questions and moving on. People will have to choose between the wise course and the foolish, but they can't expect to reconcile them. Another application is that if we find ourselves angry at others when they disagree with us, or mocking and scorning who people are and how they say things or what they believe, instead of listening carefully, understanding, and interacting respectfully, we might be the fools in this passage. That's not a good place to be. The final is that we can often tell who is the wise one and who is the fool, not by understanding their whole argument, but by watching their behavior. The quick-tempered one who's angry at his opponent, or the quick-witted one who's mocking his opponent rather than treating him with respect, are not very likely to be the wise ones in the eyes of God. That doesn't necessarily determine who's right and wrong on the issue. There can be wise people who think foolish or wrong things, and there can be foolish people who are right about things. But it certainly gives us a hint, and it does say something about their character. Mostly, we just want to avoid these situations where we contend. We want to pursue peace. And if someone isn't willing to discuss a matter without wrath and scorn, then we're usually better off just disengaging and having our conversation another time or with someone else. I hope this video is a blessing to you. If so, give that thumbs up button a hit, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more insights from the Scriptures. Until next time, I hope you stay well and live at peace.